So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, But we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. He's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2 or 3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes.
He was up there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling the police and the Secret Service.
We were telling the police. We were pointing at him for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
binoculars?
Could they see him?
Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? This is not a big place.
Did you see, obviously everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all?
Oh, yeah, they blew his head off.
Okay, sorry.
Secret Service blew his head off.
Okay, just be careful because we don't quite know who's watching, but you're pretty sure they shot the guy?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
You saw that happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you see them go up to him afterwards, or?
They crawled up on the roof. They had their guns pointed at him, make sure he was dead. He was dead, and that was it. It was over.
And there you go. Woke up alive again. Unlike a few other unfortunate souls. Specifically at the rally in Pennsylvania last night. What a shit show, huh? The background sounds, Adventure Dog chewing on her morning bone. If you hear something odd behind me. Anyway, not much I could say to comment on the current events. I'm not like I'm the guy to jump on repeating the current events. Lots of channels are all about that. They get up in the morning and read the current events. What's my stance on it? I will share my stance, so where did I see it? I was actually on Facebook. Oddly, I'm never on there. I have 2 pages on Facebook for me. I think one is Steve Isdall, and the other one is ProGuide66. And I remember years ago, there's a 5,000 friend limit on Facebook or something. Hit that, and then I made another page called ProGuide66, Steve Isdall, where it's unlimited, right? And I went on there. I don't know how I got on there, and there's literally thousands of friend requests on the Steve Isdall page. Anyway, and I said to everybody, because I know my social media is linked up. If I post my outdoor shenanigans on Instagram, which I always do, it automatically goes to the ProGuide66 Facebook, so I put a note on there. Anyways, that's what I was doing. And then our friend here, our friend Nate Rudd, I saw a post on his page of the interview of the young man who was watching the shooter in Pennsylvania last night for, 2 to 3 minutes. I didn't see that interview anywhere on mainstream news. Odd, right? But I also did see it. They tried to vote in to strip Trump of his Secret Service protection recently. I don't think it's too much of a surprise what went down last night to many people. It's obviously it's probably one of the last things that they could try to pull off to stop what the people want. It's not about Trump. It's about what the people want. The majority of the people in the United States, probably in the world, want him to be the leader. He's already said flat out he's going to stop the war instantly. Said no other effing Western skidbag politician in the world yet. Doesn't matter if you don't like his personality. The fact is, he stated flat out, he will stop the war in one day. How can you be angry at a person for speaking those words? No other Western leaders spoke those words yet. They just keep on sending young boys to kill each other on behalf of old, greasy, sleazy men. Right? And they just keep pumping the money to feed that and keep killing the young men. Anyway, I'm going to stop babbling right there. You know what my position is. I can talk about that topic a lot. But anybody who thinks for themselves, you already know what's up. So, where are we? I will say one thing, though. When that man was bleeding and stopped, put his fist in the air, I will admit it. I got instant shivers and I wanted to go straight to the United States to fight with my frickin' brothers and sisters instantly. I've already made that clear what would go down if shit ever flew. I would go down if need be, I would go fight with my brothers and sisters in the United States, shoulder to shoulder in a frickin' heartbeat. Not ashamed to say it out loud. Anyway, there we go. That was quite the moment. Quite the moment. We'll see what's going to be coming in the near future. The Western world is upside down, I'll tell you what. Now, one thing I can do, I can make sure that our late great Bobby Short is heard once again, especially because the people who don't want us to speak freely and honestly wanted to shut her up. And although she's not with us physically, she's still here. She wins. So, the next entry in her marvelous huge book is titled The ASA Monster, Marine Corps Base, Quantico, Virginia. The Dumfries, Virginia Potomac News on January 17, 1977 published a long article about the Sasquatch that contained the statement, quote, "Much has been written about the monster at the ammunition storage area, ASA, at Quantico Marine Corps Base, but doesn't say what. There is a reference to one Marine claiming to have seen a brown thing walking on two legs, and another reporting something that looked like a cross between an ape and a bear, covered with very long hair. Several people had apparently heard loud screaming. We called the ammunition storage area sergeant of the guard to determine whether there had been any more sightings or sounds in the area, but were told that all information regarding the ASA monster is considered classified. When asked why that is so, the guard answered that he was not allowed to answer that question either. He later said that the information is not really classified, but everyone at the compound has been ordered not to talk about the monster at all. How come? Why? Following upload of the ASA monster onto my Bigfoot Encounters website, a reader wrote the following note with a deeply interesting comment. Quote, "My older brother, when he was alive, was a veteran of the Korean War conflict and the Marines on Pork Chop Hill. Where 240 those men were killed and nearly 900 wounded. About the ammo dump in Quantico, that story reminded me of a comment my brother made a couple of times about there being some sort of monsters, plural, that hung around on the base at Quantico that everyone said had blue eyes. I thought that might interest you. Dunstan 109 in Wisconsin." And from, quote, "Smitty," unquote, at Marine Corps Combat Development Command at Quantico, Virginia, this statement. I haven't seen Scary Harry around, but I hear talk that he shows up now and then. No big deal, ma'am. The Marines here consider Scary Harry part of the landscape, end quote. Go figure. U.S. Marine Base, Quantico, Virginia, 1957. The GCBRO posted a much older report indicating a long history of Bigfoot sightings in and around the Quantico installation. This one occurred at night between 2400 hours and 0300 hours. The informant told Mary Green that he was on guard duty, walking his post when he was alerted by his dog to a noise in the woods. At first, the soldier thought it was a bear with long brown hair on his body, but then it started walking away upright, and he put a round in the chamber of his M1 rifle. The creature, described as 7 foot tall, was not disturbed by the dog barking, but clearly reacted to the sound of the rifle's bolt. 1990 sighting, Marine Corps Base, Quantico, Virginia. In 2007, the AIBR reported on their website a 1990 late-night Bigfoot sighting on the organization's website. The incident was also recorded at Marine Corps Base, Quantico, Virginia. Bob and Kathy Strain summarized a 3-hour-long interview with the informant, Dan. Their synopsis is picked up here. Quote, Dan was at the base for a week-long training at the end of July. The terrain is rolling hills/woodland. The event happened the second night of training. They had not been to this location yet, nor did they go back. Dan and 5 other men, including the instructor, began the night patrol. Around 2 to 3 a.m., the men moved very quietly into the area, communicating only with hand signals. They stopped and sat in a 360, bracket, i.e., all the men form a circle with their backs to each other, giving themselves a 360-degree view of the surroundings. Dan was the first watch. The other men dozed. The first growl occurred after a man in his patrol moaned. Because he thought it was a bear and wanted to see it, Dan stood up and took three or so steps toward the sound. This put him about 20 feet from the animal. Probably due to Dan's movement towards it, the animal stood up and he could see its silhouette in the available moonlight. Dan doesn't remember the exact moon phase, but it was a cloudless night and there was enough moonlight available to see the face of a person next to you and hand signals from the rest of the group. According to internet records, the moon phase for the date range, year, and location put the moon at full or near full. On average, the moon rose at around 11:53 p.m. and set as late as 10 a.m. the next morning. Dan himself was 270 pounds and stands 6'5". It was clear to him, based on its size and shape, that it was no bear. At this point, he could see that it stood up on 2 legs and had a pointed head. Its arms hung down below its knees. Its hands were the size of dinner plates. The report stated the Sasquatch stared angrily at the informant, and as it did, it swayed back and forth, then it roared again. Dan could feel the vibrations from the sound in his chest. The report goes on to describe how the Sasquatch, quote, slapped its right hand hard against a nearby pine tree using only one hand. Dan was unclear what happened after the slap, but after a short pause, the tree snapped and fell toward him. What? How interesting is that? The witness told the Strains he was unclear if the Sasquatch broke the tree by the slap, by pushing, or by breaking it with one hand. Only one hand was used. The tree was taller than the Sasquatch and was approximately 6 to 8 inches in diameter. The report also stated the creature was 8.5 feet tall. The informant, Dan Buchanan, was also known as Squatch Commando. He was a Marine Corps veteran who encountered Bigfoot while training at Quantico. His life was cut short by a driver who didn't see him in August of 2007. Dan was only 41. That sucks. Here's another entry. U.S. Marine Corps Mountain Warfare Training Center, Mono County, Bridgeport, California. Butch Young was a very young 19 years old when he was sent to the Marine Warfare Training Center near Mono Lake, located in California's desolate Sierra Nevada mountain range. It's one of the Marine Corps' most remote and isolated posts. The center was established during the 1950s as the Cold Weather Battalion with the mission of providing cold weather training for replacement personnel bound for Korea during the conflict. Young was sent to an area called Pickle Meadows, south of the lake, there to learn how to fight, how to conduct himself in combat, how to survive, engage, and meet the enemy head-on in freezing, snowy wilderness conditions. Young thought he was prepared for the wilderness training. Mono Lake is extremely remote, and the setting is one of dense forests. One cold, freezing night, Young and his squad were on patrol during a nighttime war game. It was cold, deep snow on the ground at an elevation of 8,000 feet. The moon was out, you could see quite clearly. It was almost like daylight with the moon and starlight reflecting off the snow. And then it happened quickly and suddenly. The men spotted what they thought were the opposing squad members advancing off to the right. Young could see 2 looming figures One of them was crouched. The other was standing upright, but the dark figures did not act like Marines on maneuvers. How they acted defied any action of a trained Marine in the woods. In fact, the dark figures were not trying to avoid and conceal themselves. The behavior of the two didn't make sense to Young. Confused, the squad strained to get a better look. They could see no weapons, no clothing, or anything that would indicate what the Marines were on maneuvers. The moon lit them up just enough to see fingers on their hands some 30 yards away. Young figured that it had to be a pretty big hand to distinguish fingers that far away. It took a while before the Marines realized what they had seen, and the next morning the squad learned that the opposing squad team they were hunting was actually 2 clicks away. They weren't even in the neighborhood. So then, what was it the squad encountered? Young wondered what they had seen so high up in the timberline. Finally, they began to realize that they all had encountered 2 Bigfoot watching them advance up the hill at night. So many people in the military have seen and know. A lot more than emails us, and we do get quite a few that email, right? I'm going to keep going. Aberdeen Proving Grounds, Maryland. Mark Opsasnick, author of Maryland Bigfoot Digest, wrote about the Harwood Park monster in 1976. Over time, research has amassed a string of sightings in that region. Briefly, one story was about 3 boys, ages 16 and 17, who testified they saw a bad-smelling, hair-covered, 8-foot Bigfoot 3 consecutive nights near Harwood Park in Baltimore County, Maryland. It was initially investigated and written up by S. Stover and Bernard Brown in the Info Journal, Volume 7, Number 6, page 4. Then in May of 76, the Richard Stewart family saw what was called the Harwood Park monster while they were clearing brush. It was reported in News American on May 27th, 76, to my knowledge. Nothing much has been written about the Harwood Park monster since the 70s, until 2010, when someone wrote me through the website. In that email, the writer suggested the missing people in that region could be attributed to what once were several Bigfoot-like creatures being held at a U.S. Army facility in Aberdeen, Maryland. Whoa. The suggestion being that one or more of the captive Bigfoots broke loose at one time. I responded to the letter writer, but could never get a second response, and I filed it away and forgot about it. Then in 2011, I received another letter, apparently from a different soldier. The fellow was searching for some update or other information on the Harwood Park monster, and unfortunately I didn't have the answers the man was looking for. But I discovered, with the help of Maryland residents Chuck Prawl and Jay Jackson at the Harwood Park sites across from the bay from Aberdeen Proving Grounds. The Aberdeen Proving Ground is a United States Army facility located in Hartford County, Maryland. It's a secretive test elevation. It is a secretive test, evaluation, research, and development engineering installation. Long considered the best of its kind in the world. Jay Jackson, a chemical engineer in civilian life for Kodak, had been stationed there at one time. How is this related to Bigfoot or the Harwood Park monster? The informant said that he was at one time part of the security detail at Aberdeen and was friends with the cook on the base. He and the cook often drank together off duty. It was during one of those drinking sessions that the cook told him what the off-limits area of the base had living there. Quote, 20 years ago, I was a snot-nosed kid and the monsters were things, I couldn't imagine. In the letter he asked, is it possible the Harwood Park monster is something that escaped from the Aberdeen Proving Grounds? I'm not military, so I was unsure about any of this. All I can publish is what has been written to me. Continuing on, the informant stated, I met another security guard that worked there at APG who said they have something like a Bigfoot living there. Referencing the Harwood monster, the guard said, Nothing else was ever heard of the Bigfoot escapee after the military swept the woods. At least we never heard anything. The informant believed a Bigfoot could have followed the railroad tracks by traveling further west. Could have survived by eating out of dumpsters and dog food dishes, that sort of thing. There are one or two instances where Bigfoot have been observed eating from dumpsters and not necessarily near military facilities. Texas, Oklahoma, Washington State, Alaska, Alabama, and California, as well as Canada, all have reports of Bigfoot pillaging dumpsters, also known as dumpster diving. A week later, I discovered Harwood Park is a community next to the railroad tracks in Baltimore County, across the river from Hartford County, Maryland. It's only about 5 miles to Aberdeen Proving Grounds, where the creature was thought to be housed and held in a barred, secure, cage-like enclosure. After it escaped, a soldier's theory, it is quite possible that the Sasquatch traveled several more miles following the railroad tracks where it was reportedly seen eating from dumpsters at a grocery store. I waited for information from that security guard at the APG, but it never came. Figuring he used a fictitious name, I forgot about the entry. Still, I had the feeling that there might be more to this story than I knew. I discussed the case with Chuck Prawl because of his familiarity with that region in Maryland. He postulated the Sasquatch could swim across the bay and may not have taken to the railroad tracks at all. The Sasquatch is reportedly a great swimmer. For me, this story is hard to imagine. I can report what comes to me, but I know little about the core of military operations or the secrecy therein. If there is more to the story, I'd like to hear it. And there you go. It's not going to end. There we go. Thank you, Bobby Short. Now, who do we got? What do we got? Who do we got? What do we got? What is this? Oh, that's just for me, okay. Not to be shared publicly. I get a lot of those, you guys. I get a lot, and I don't share them publicly. Excuse me. This is titled, Something in Ireland. Perhaps Nothing. All right, chiming in from Ireland. Here we go. What's this camera doing? Not that it needs my ugly mug on here anyway, but... Hiya, Steve. On the subject of, and a response to the shooting bears. Huh? On the subject of, and a response to the shooting bears. It's best a man is proficient as you with a gun would do that. There are too many idiots with guns that would just wound them. And anyway, I hear they mostly die of abscessed teeth if they get to an old age. Not a painless way to go. Like Dick Pernok said in his Alone in the Wilderness, I suppose there are harder ways to go than a clean shot. All right. Okay, so here's my 2 cents worth. Here in Ireland, I've often thought it would be wondrous to see a Sabe. Just fill my heart with love and just gaze at him/her would be enough. Not likely on this island, right? In Canada, I spent months in the wilderness. No fear of the dark and no sign of Sabe. In those days, 40 years ago, I never even thought about them out there, but had occasionally heard stories from the Salish. I, however, definitely felt watched in a benign way, but no humans about. I shrugged it off every time. The other morning at about 3 to 4 a.m. here in Ireland, in half light, I got up and glanced down out of the second floor French doors on my way to the bathroom, and I thought I saw what looked like a hairy, dark lump, crouched down, sitting in the empty field 50 feet away, as big as a VW Beetle, but higher. It was huge. I felt a bolt of terror, white with fear. I haven't felt scared of the darkness or really anything for decades, and no, there are no bears here. I looked away for literally a split second, and looked back, and it was gone. I was instantly wide awake and kicking myself for looking away. I can't even remember at what or why. I ought to have known better and not taken my eyes off whatever it was. I went out on the balcony and no sign of anything, no noise at all. It was completely quiet and I was looking at an empty field. I've been thinking of this for weeks. No doubt. Perhaps it's just my imagination working overtime mixed with a sleepy head, I don't know, but I'm not delusional as far as I know. Could they come here? I don't see why not if they travel by portal. I guess they could go anywhere. True. I have heard a seasoned guy on YouTube called Chuck in the southern states that has had mind speak affirmed from over 2,000 miles away. No shit. Incredible if true. And if true, they could pick up on my thoughts. I have been having loving thoughts towards them for years now. Interestingly, and I've shared this before, it is known in India that the musti, or god mad, God intoxicated souls. Let me read that one more time, smoothly, all right? Interestingly, comma, I've shared this before, comma, it is known in India that the capital M-U-S-T-I, or capital God, capital M-A-D, God mad, God intoxicated souls can know what anyone is thinking or doing anywhere on the planet. I have related my suspicions that Sabe have the same Siddhi powers, S-I-D-D-H-I powers, just like Musti, M-U-S-T-I, and Mahayogis, rare gifts held by the spiritually advanced. Having said all this, in my heart, I still welcome them, perhaps even more now. I am convinced loving thoughts and feelings will overcome anything negative or fearful. Love to you guys. Keep on sharing. This is all coming out big time now, and it's in no small part down to you, Steve, and all of you. Blessings from the Emerald Isle. Use my name if you like. Perhaps there are more here in Ireland who have seen strange, unusual things willing to share. I'd love to know. It's reassuring that they've been seen in Wales. Jamie Hillier, Tipperary Mountains. Jamie, appreciate your email, man. Now, I can't remember clearly right now if we've heard from Ireland or not. We heard from Scotland, the UK. We probably have, right? We probably have. Excuse me. Holy, this is a book. What do I do with this? Do I start now? Man, this is a big one. Holy. I try to gauge an email from going like this. How long it takes me to hit the top. Then do like 5 or 6 of those. 7, 8, 9. It's a long one. Do I got time? All right. Well, I will not mark that as read. Yet. Okay, here we go. Back to the top. Mark this as read. This is titled, A Unique Experience from 2016, plus 3 new ones. Bracket, this email sent to you in July 24, end bracket. All right. Hello, Steve. My experience is mild compared to most, but it has been said, no matter what it is, you never forget it. Very, very true. Back in 2016, a singles group I was part of had set aside a Saturday in September for a hike day. The hike was set to begin at 9 a.m., and I arrived around 9:45. The trail travels along just above the creek bottom in the oak brush that is common for our region. There are a few scattered sections that open up with some alder, elm, and cottonwood trees. There are also a few 2x4 bridges that have been constructed to take hikers over some challenging creek crossings. I spent a fair amount of time just taking it easy and exploring. And at one point, I found a resting spot that was about 40 feet off the trail, but was still in full view. I marveled as random groups of 2 to 4 hikers passed by without even seeing me sitting in the sun in a maroon shirt. Hikers just chatting away, oblivious to their surroundings. Yeah, I've got a lot of stories the same. Humans are pretty simple in the woods on average. Continuing the hike, there's a section of trail that crosses a creek. At this location, a curious stick formation caught my eye. It is definitely made with hands. Were they hairy hands? Hopefully the photos make it to you. Once again, continuing my hike, there is a part of the trail that crosses a creek where it is wide and shallow in the shade, then climbs the north-facing slope at about a 40-degree angle. I paused for a moment, marveling at how a little bit of water can make a bland-looking dry rock pop with color. There is also a low-hanging tree just above the water at this location, blocking the view upstream. It will come into play in a moment. At the time of this steep section, the trail breaks out of the nearby constant cover, and I'm now in full sun about 35 feet above the creek. It is at this point that I realize that it's nearly 11 a.m. and it's getting hot. I didn't intend to hike this far, and I don't have any water. Due to my random exploring, it felt much farther than the 0.6 of a mile I had traveled from the trailhead. As I'm standing there, taking a moment to look at my surroundings, I hear a single branch break down on the creek bottom. Of course, I snap my head around and scan the creek to see what made the sound. I see nothing. I then think to myself, I was just down there. What in the crap is going on? And the only way down is the way I came up. I said a prayer in my heart, and after a few moments, began down the steep section of the trail. Just as the trail begins to level out and enters the shade, I feel a vibration or reverb. I don't hear it, I feel it. It started out at ground level around my legs. And as I took a few more steps fully into the shade, it began to rise up and envelop me. Whoa. Whatever's causing this is just behind the low creek hiding tree. I paused for a brief moment and acknowledged whatever was there, but I meant no harm. Still being enveloped by vibration, I then crossed the gently babbling creek and started back down the trail. I did glance back a couple of times. I never did see anything. And once I was about 60 feet down the trail, it shut off. Like something flipped a switch. The vibration entirely ended at that instant. The natural forest sounds were always there. The vibration was just an added layer for the time that it lasted. There's nothing that I know of that can do that, except for one type of being. Since becoming a member of your channel, I've had 3 additional experiences from this year. Number 1. One evening near the beginning of summer, I had 2 blue, laser-like light beams briefly shine into the house at the bottom of the closed honeycomb window shades just as I stood up to retire for the night. Whatever made these light beams had to have been crouched down next to the grill outside to be able to be level with the bottom of the window. I understand that the blue lights have been reported by people camping in tents, but this was certainly unexpected in the suburbs outside of Salt Lake City. Utah? I think you can basically expect anything to happen in the state of Utah. Number 2, Rich Germeau recommended a movie when you talked with him, A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed. I watched it, and a few more experiencer stories they have on that channel. One of those experiencers lives near the Mogollon Rim in Arizona and explains how he can see a shimmering figure easier at low light in the morning and evening hours. And wouldn't you know it, in the week of my birthday, I saw a shimmering form about 300 feet from me. Went out with the dog as it moved from a fence line to more dense vegetation between us. The shimmer I saw appeared to be similar to leaves rustling in a breeze, even though there wasn't a lick of wind at the time. It was an imperfect mimic of leaves. I can see how some might call it pixelated in appearance. The time is approximately 8 p.m. Number 3, exactly 1 week later from the shimmering form incident, I had another more bizarre experience. I was again out with my dog, again around 7:30 p.m. at the stop sign at the end of the street. And as I was standing there watching the dog sniff around, I hear what sounds like a man trying to make his best dog impression. A low, repetitive woof, woof. A low, repetitive woof, woof yell started to approach me from my left side, about 100 feet away, and closed in to just behind me before it retreated back to where it began. I was able to track the yelling with my ears, but nothing was visible. My dog didn't even react. That's weird. He just continued about his business and chewed on some grass during the whole incident. To passing traffic, I must have appeared to be avoiding a bee buzzing around my head, lol. To have these last 3 experiences, it probably doesn't hurt to live outside the south boundary of Hill Air Force Base. And there it is. An 8-year-old experience and three new ones. Nothing has happened since the writing of this email. And by the way, I Google search for the Club of No Return. Sorry. And by the way, a Google search for the Club of No Return does bring up links to the merch store on the YouTube channel. Oh, no shit. Blake in Utah. Well, your vehicle sticker photograph came through. Is that focusing on there? That came through, but I don't see any other photos attached to the email. So obviously I copied everything in the email and pasted it in here. And there you go. Excuse me. That's a different description. I don't think we've had anybody describe being enveloped by some kind of vibrational feeling and still at the same time being able to move. And the dog not acknowledging, that's a little alarming. I guess whoever, whatever that is perfecting they're perfecting their skills, right? Somebody's probably been like, hey, how do we get around these damn dogs? We can't sneak around the dogs, got to figure this out. Maybe they did. Whoever it is, whatever it is. What I would give to speak fluent English with a dog. A rural dog. Any dog. Wouldn't that be amazing? To speak with them fluently. What they would be able to tell you about what they can do and feel and smell. Anyway. I'm going to cut this semi-short, I'm guessing. I still have to, I have to get my, I got my round pan, finally. We got half set up last night. I have to get it off the trailer and I have to go get more hay today in this heat. Sucks, but I just got to do it and carry on. So much going on, right? There's a lot of alarming shit. Well, a lot of alarming shit has been going on for quite some time. It's getting old. It's getting old, right? Hopefully, I sure hope that society is changing for the better. I sure sincerely hope it is. I mean, let's face it, everybody's becoming very aware of what a very small group of human beings have been doing to all of us globally for quite some time. And I like to think that everybody's had enough. It's time to put an end to this bullshit. Right? It's time to put an end to it at whatever way fits. Whatever route fits to rid this frickin' existence of these dark sons of bitches, I'm in. I'm so in. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, right? Anyway, I don't need to babble on about last night's events because it's probably flooded all over online. There's going to be probably more coming out about it if it concerns you, which it probably should. And hopefully it doesn't happen again. Anyway, it's always the good guys that get killed off, right? When it comes to leadership in the world, it's always the good guys. How come never the bad guys? I don't get it. Right? I will touch on that. I'm done with the emails, in case you don't want to hear me talk, but think about it. You know, you go to Middle Eastern countries where it's war-torn, there's angry people left, right, and center. They're doing desperate things, as in putting on a bodysuit of bombs, and then they go out of their way to blow up a bunch of innocent people. It's so stupid. Why don't you go blow up the people that caused all the grief? I don't get it. They never do. And then you got the crazy people that go out and shoot the shit out of people. Innocent people. Why didn't you go find the people that made you miserable and made society miserable and shoot them up? I don't get it. You know, it just does make sense. It's nonstop. Everything is just hammered on us, right? The people that just want to live and have fun and help each other be happy and rock it out. We're gonna kill those sons of bitches, those happy people, to teach the bad guys a lesson. Really. It's not working. Anyway, okay, I won't babble on that, but I could. I think Sarah only had 50 of those suckers. I don't know. But she said the people love that. I love this one. Myself, I'm getting that sucker on a t-shirt. I'm gonna get her to get those on t-shirts and a hoodie or something. I'm wearing the shit out of this. But anyway, she still has them. I think she's ordering more. I don't know. Her deal. But there you go. There you go. There you go. Anyway, try to concentrate on raising your vibration in the positive direction. All right. I'd like to really. I've been focusing on that a lot myself lately. I'm trying to cruise through life at a higher vibration so I can possibly attain the next level, right? I'm trying. And while you try to do that, you obviously at the same time, you can see how everywhere we look mainstream has been geared up to keep us vibrating at a lower level, right? You can look at any mainstream news channel and what the headliners are. It's all doom, gloom, and negative. Why is that? When it should be the main delivery to societies, to communities, should be geared up to make you vibrate at a higher, more positive level, right? But why isn't it? There's a big question you need to answer for yourself. Why not? Right? Why is the majority of mainstream movies all violence, doom, and gloom? Why is that? Right? Why is the majority of food basically poison? Why is that? Why do you walk down the nasty cereal aisle in a grocery store? It's all geared up to attract the children to it, and it's all freaking poison. There's no way out of it. It's poison. Why is that? Why is that okay? You know, there's a whole bunch of easy whys in our face that I hope people would start cluing into as you move up, trying to gain more knowledge. Why? Why is everything hidden from us? Why do people that communicate with these other people, how come the other people, the ones living in the forest, don't fill us in smoothly? They keep shit from us too. Why is that? We're gonna find the answers. All right, we're finding the answers slowly. We gotta put our frickin' puzzle pieces together and make sense of it ourselves. It's frustrating. Gotta re-educate ourselves on our own. But I guess that's originally what we were supposed to be doing. I'm babbling. Okay, here we go. I gotta go. Too much in my brain right now. Share my story, howtohunt.com. Anything you're curious about with links is in the description below. And make sure you get your knowledge to me if you want it shared publicly, all right? Because I'll do it word for word. Get it out. I'll be back later. That's a big fish. Or is it? It's not bottom, is it?
No.
It's bottom.
No.
It's bottom. Might be halibut. Okay, it's big bottom right here.
No, I feel something.